Hello readers, this is Mrs. Harding here to help you know how to fill out this chart that you will do on the next assignment. And the chart is all about relating the elements of mythology to the myth of Cronus to help you find the theme. And there are different elements of mythology in the Cronus myth and different themes. So I'm going to actually fill out the entire chart with you. I want you to follow along and act like you're filling it out with me. Help me find details from the text just as if you were filling this out. But then after this video, you're going to be doing the same chart with the Cronus text again, but with a different element of mythology that you can choose using different details from the text to find a different theme. So all of this will probably make more sense once we go through this lesson. But just be ready to pay close attention because you will be in charge of filling out this entire chart all by yourself for the assignment, and this will help give you a good idea of how to do that. So we're going to review the myth of Cronus for this assignment and also the key elements of mythology chart and how to use the text and the elements of mythology together to find a theme. So the first part of the chart says, an element of mythology in Cronus, and you choose it from the key elements of mythology chart that we've used the last few lessons. And I already put one here, a struggle for power. So that's one of the elements off of the chart, which are on the left side of the chart, there's listed different elements. One of them is a struggle for power, and that can be seen in the myth of Cronus. We're actually going to skip this part because I think this is best to do at the end. It's asking us, what does the myth of Cronus teach us about a struggle for power? So that's the element of the myth that I chose. So we're going to come back to this at the end because I think looking at the details from the myth will help us answer this question and find the theme. So our job first is to find 3 details from the myth of Cronus that support or show a struggle for power. Okay, so I'm going to go here. So here's the myth of Cronus that we read in previous lessons. And if you'd like to pause this video right now to reread it on your own, you may do so. It's also in your lesson, so you can pause and scroll up and read that there. Or if you've already read it, good for you. That's what you're supposed to have done. So you can just follow along with me. What I'm going to do here is just skim through this short myth and look for evidence that shows the mythological element a struggle for power. So where am I seeing characters struggle and strive to get more power? All right, so looking through right here, I see right away that the mom wanted Titan brothers to rise up against their father and save their brothers. I'm going to copy that. And right here, I'm going to put that in for my first detail from the text. So just to recap, I found a detail that shows the struggle for power, and I'm putting it right in here on this chart straight from the text. I just copied and pasted, and I'll put quotes around it just to show that I got it straight from the text, that I'm using it as evidence. Now we're going to do that again for another detail. So help me scroll through or skim through the text and try to find another detail that shows a struggle of power between the characters. I see one again right here in the second paragraph where Cronus attempts to escape his fate by swallowing each child as soon as it's born. Now, what fate is he trying to avoid? He's afraid that his children might one day rise up against his authority. Well, seeing authority right away, that is pretty similar to the word power. So I knew that that was probably a good place to read when I skimmed through and saw authority. Okay, so we could probably actually copy and paste both of these. So I'm going to do that one first. I'm going to put a quotation mark there to show that it's from the text. Then I'm going to do dot, dot, dot to show that there's a little space. You know, there's other words in between the first quote and then the second quote that I'm going to put. And I'm going to keep it in the same box it's not two different pieces of evidence or two different details because it's really talking about the same thing. So Cronus was afraid his children might one day rise up against him, so he swallowed them when they were born, right? That's another example of struggle for power. He's doing whatever he can to maintain his power, even eating his own children. Oh my word. Okay, we need one more detail. So help me look through the text. What is one more detail you can find that shows a struggle of power? I see one at the very end. Zeus eventually dethroned his father Cronus, who was banished from the kingdom and deprived forever of supreme power. Right there is even the word that we're looking for, struggle of power. So I'm going to copy and paste that. Again, it's just showing that his power actually later was taken from him and somebody else gained power. But again, just that struggle of power between characters is illustrated there. Okay, so now I have my element of mythology up here, struggle for power. I have 3 details from the text that I just copied and pasted right in that show 3 different times of struggle of power between the characters. And now I'm going to go back up here and think, what does the myth teach me about the struggle for power? Is the myth saying that a struggle for power is a good thing or it's going to get me happiness? Is it saying that a struggle for power is the right way to live, or is it showing something else? I want you to think about it right now. Could you write down a theme idea? Could you write down on your own paper, or at least think about it right now in your mind? Complete one full sentence. What does this myth teach us about a struggle for power? I think it's also important to mention here that there are many other details we could have put that show a struggle for power. These were just 3 that I found right here on the fly with you. There's also a whole part about Rhea, the mother, trying to gain power back in order to save her children. So you could also put some sort of evidence regarding that. But these work as well. So thinking about the theme, about what does the myth teach us about the element of this mythology of struggle for power. So what is the myth teaching us about struggle for power? I think that looking through how, he was so afraid that he would lose his power that he ate his children, that it's destroying families, right? Because brothers are rising up against their father. A wife is turning against her husband to try to save her children. Eventually, he's just dethroned. So that means he loses his power and he's banished from the kingdom and deprived or taken, his power's taken from him. Those all sound like negative things, right? They sound like negative things to me. So I think the theme, we could write it, remember we want to write a complete sentence. So something like, we should not allow power to determine how we act. That could be one idea. We should not allow power to determine how we act. Another one we could put is struggling for power will result in ruin or unhappiness, right? Something like that. So something that shows that struggling for power is a negative thing and probably going to result in something bad happening, right? And we should not allow trying to get more power to determine how we are going to act or treat others, right? So something along those lines. That's like a moral or something that we're being taught through this myth. It is an underlying message, an underlying value or a theme from this myth. Now, there is another huge theme in this myth that's actually more well known for, and there are other underlying themes that you may see as you're reading this myth. So I'm not going to discuss those because you may choose those when you are filling out your chart in the next assignment. Make sure in the next assignment that you don't copy what I did here. This was done for you as a lesson and as an example. You need to come up with your own quotes and your own theme based on an element of mythology that you choose. I encourage you to try to choose a different one than a struggle for power. There are other elements that are seen in this myth. So choose a different one from the chart and then go through the same steps that I showed you here to fill that out for the assignment.